Alright, Salty told me to kick this one in here because it gives you a couple of names. And this is going to be on Jim. Why does he say he holds gold? Well, gold is an important number. Well, firstly, it's mathematically a great number. Arc usage, right? AU. Gold standard. When it's in there for electricity, or the arc sign on geodesics, AUAX, it's a super valuable NTF. Now, let's back over here. We're going to get into that here in a minute, but what's critical about something like gold in the service logs of certain pieces of equipment is eventually copper burns out. Eventually, no matter you think steel's hard, I wish I go downstairs and grab you one of my chisels from the stone mill. You know it's beat up, mushroomed right over, tore up. That's made out of steel. Hard steel. Well, soft steel, actually. It's not a katana. But eventually that fillet guy, that fisherman, you know the fisherman, you know the fillet guy, that's going to go right down to nothing when you're sharpening that stone. And so you got to look at this and say, mathematically today, there's a high index on actual physical gold in your hand, or wherever the hell you guys put it. Pay off $1, put it in somebody else's security system, AU, arc sign, there you go. It's their mine, their equipment, their super dredge, whatever. But again, you know, it's hitting on a lot of matrices across the board. Silver will also do this, but silver oxidizes a little bit. Gold, in terms of hookup of electrolysis or electroplating certain materials, really ramps up the longevity of oxidizing that system or that service chip. Here's an MOS chip. It goes in there. Now, obviously, given the thickness on that thing, it still might burn out. I mean, that's bad housing on voltage and wattage and amps and stuff like that, velocity, frequency, amplitude, and volume. Sure, whatever. You know, derivative U, derivative X, whatever. And so that's why it's generally still valuable today. People use it as an NTF. It's in hand. It actually serves something that a painting can't do. You know, you can't hook up a painting to electricity and do it. But you can do it. You can charge your battery on your cell phone with a 12-volt car battery, some wires, as long as they're within the AU golden ratio, proper appropriation of what those things are, and a pencil that you shave off to get to the graphite underneath there to charge your phone, using that pencil as a fuse. Now, I want you to think about that NTF for a moment. Probably never use it. Super light, in the field pack, in the woods, in a situation, can't do it. In business, in the woods, running around through the orchard, right? The orchard math realm, I can't see all these trees. I'm just looking at it from this angle. I'm looking at this angle from the cemetery, right? 1,000-yard stare about where people are buried around here, what's planted. Apples, oranges, and an AU, a derivative, mathematically, it kind of looks like a big A, and big lowercase a, some fancy wiggly squiggly danger noodles, hydrogen to helium. This form of it, let's turn it upside down with some symmetry, just 90 degrees, and call that something that doesn't do that. It would be out of the spectrum of that. You know, I'm sure there's a way, you know, oxygen or hydrogen or helium, Anton sure would hit that somewhere inside here about a superfluid or something like that. But that's so far out of the spectrums of something you can just dig out of the ground, have useful, melt it down, turn it into coin. That coin, easy to press, it doesn't beat up on steel die over at the mint, right? But if you tried that with steel and made steel out of steel, soft steel out of hard tool steel, the service on that drops E0 to E1. And if I use any other material in there, that's kind of what that's always been, and it's a gold standard. It's AU. So let's see what you got, Jim. I'm sure there's more to it, absolutely. But inside here, that's why I hold gold. You know, I'm using it in this idol because, you know what, you're going to have to beat somebody as this gold standard inside of here about why we let this one do it in containment for what it could correlate to. Absolutely could be the death of all of you. Hellboy out there making it be like, well, why didn't you just get out there and kill everybody with the dragon? Because you're going to do it to yourself when they're all shooting meth up and doing it anyways. It'll settle itself out. You kick on that index too much, or you misoperate cutting too much wrath and all that other horse shit in there. It's born in rule. Come get it.
So I totally get it. But I used to think, David, that when you get pick up inflation like
Sharps, you got the crosshairs on you, man.
Employment number? Yeah. That should mean...
Well, the silver scales, like I said, it's still a mine.
To make gold go down. Gold's in a world of hurt. And I think people are reassessing it as
if it was something different, it would be something different. Like I said, it's got momentum. It's always had momentum.
What, thousands of years of history?
If you ask Dr. Mark Bristow...
It's not just digging it out of the ground. There's a Pensrow to it, right? So IH, or I1, J1, gold, somebody had it all up. And then they made, what is it, I was watching on the stock market when I was going back into the day, they had some gold miners index or something like that. And it's like, well, what they have is a crypto. They have a stable coin of something that is real. Now, the difference is that crypto is still real like that as long as they got the capital. On the plates, those things are congruent. But people don't care about the top end of it. It's like, well, how come I didn't get that back? Because it's not that it didn't come back on the value of the trajectory of that thing. It's 6 years down the line, though. Excuse me? I'll go buy a lathe and start a system myself if I knew that's what it was, but people are lazy. And I'm not going to tell you you should, because there's a high-quality problem in there. It's like, but they're not paying attention to it. Like, that was the whole problem with the market in general. I used it as a spring. It's like, hey, you're the last one in town. I needed it for this box right here. Like, we got to put something in here to fix the dam. And when it's over, I'm going to tell you stop. I don't need any more. It might come up halfway through the index, but this number correlates all the pay for guys through a day, and we're going to stretch that out. Because I'm not just going to give them all $1,000 on this day for 5 days worth of work. You know, give them what it is for what it is along the course. Manage your differential, cover the insurance, you know, and if it's gold or fish or whatever, deer, beaver pelts, you know, terracotta army stuff. I want to be clear because there is a lot of fucking indexes where X could correlate to. And does that person, when I say give me that money, it's like, whoa, whoa!
Just as Goldman did last week.
Look, I think that number was electric. It really put the Fed on. Remember, I'm very pro-Fed, but that number was
We need some cat houses, firstly. It's like, we can't have prostitution, we can't have babies coming up and Uncle Sam taking care of them all because he doesn't, winds up with the mortgage system and kids in there. It's like, hey, you know, some people don't. It's a freedom. It's like, look at the board. Doesn't necessarily mean I want kids. I'm just saying, it just comes up. It comes in that NTF or that golden ratio of situations. Tesla, I drop them in there. Newton, I drop them in there. It's like, we all Newton's kids.
Thank you. Haven't gotten to that level of genomics yet where he's able
but
to
would they take to it when you look at that? They're not, I mean, situationally, a lot of them maybe, but there's a number blinking at you inside here that would be, that hits that plate hard, Pharaoh.
Is that a new title?
Well, but the FDA, no one even knows who they are anymore. They're a black box. They're a sticker group.
He was
It weighs the most. One of the, well, tungsten.
Now he's just the head of CNBC.
It's hard. I mean, tungsten bits, man. I can't use gold like that. It's got to be hard to cut through that mountain like that.
And by the way, but can we just point out that
E1 to E0 to E1, man. That's where we're living. Neutrinos to 118 on the periodic table. Now that might change later. That might be up and down, and that's why these book numbers are critical. Critical. I might get lit, but at the end of it, this is my treasury. That is my military. Now it's congruent, XI and Putin. It's just congruency. You know, you got one. You got a conquest out there. You got a Reaper on the board. Somebody keeping track of the gold on that number. You know what they look like.